go ahead and look at the price action that was presented yesterday. And what I mentioned yesterday in the stream was that despite this structure, despite the strength to the upside, I'd want to see higher prices, but I'm not willing to fade my current trading style, if that makes sense. And so therefore, I was looking for a short setup on Thursday. Now, what did that look like? We had this bit of price action. We had a change in state of delivery on the 30-minute, which was this candle's opening price. See if that's true. Yes, I never miss. And then off of that move, once this is confirmed, I went into a 5-minute chart. Looked for an up-close candle, such as this here. And then we saw the closure below. I may have taken this, okay, no, so there's no closure below there yet. Okay, it was this then. There we go. So I saw this closure below. The setup was then framed by the logic that I'd want to see us trade into the equilibrium of the prior day's range, meaning from this low to the current intraday high. This was the setup I was looking for, down to this midpoint to cap off sort of the Thursday counter sort of ideas. The setup looked, I believe, like this. So entry there, stop above this high, and the draw was there. All right, now this setup in and of itself, flaws. I didn't see anything wrong with it at the moment. In hindsight now, after doing my backtests and reviewing, I see the best setup. But effectively what happened is we ended up purging out the lows that I was talking about on stream that I'd want to see ran to then frame an upside expansion. Due to the heavy sentiment on NASDAQ, I was favoring NASDAQ over ES, where ES ended up actually making larger body candles to the downside here on whatever respective time frame it was on. Now, this setup right here would have yielded, let's see, okay, it wouldn't have yielded 2R. On ES, you would have found 4R within this framework at the maximum. Okay, it did yield 2R, so this was the idea. Flushed out the lows, came back up. I didn't manage the position. I was on the go, and it leads to a stop out, right? That's one of those days where you're looking for something certain to happen. From an ICT standpoint, from a general experience standpoint, more logical, but because I don't want to be changing my ideas against the model that I'm trading, this was the setup we worked with, and it ended up in a loss, which is fine. But what happened here, which I found was interesting, is that they ranged the market until 12 p.m. Eastern time. And all of this price action on a higher... Oops, I just went crazy. No sound? Is sound working? Okay, yes. About this on the higher time frame is when I hop to a 4-hour, this is essentially the formation of a order block, right? Down close candles forming in order to create a continuation order block. So this was the premise behind this, is that lethargic price action and this back and forth, because it was creating this order block. And then we found expansion late into the AM session to then get above this, confirm it. And ultimately, we're looking for these highs, right? So that's just a recap on that bit of price action. Now, I was thinking of doing a different type of format, which is exactly what I'm going to introduce today. Let's make sure this is off. Okay, I'm going to be unhiding my chart, and I'll be looking at this chart right now from an ICT trader standpoint, I guess, using whatever sorts of PD arrays that is usually applied, using certain logics that are applied, and framing the drawn liquidity. So that would look like this. Now, we set up the SMT with YM, put in the low of the week, right, on this SMT. So in YM's case, we're looking at a Wednesday low of the week, trading higher Thursday into Friday, which has been delivering so far. Sorry, I gotta catch my breath. Cool. And so prior week structure, we set up this order block, swept out these highs, traded lower into a key level. inverse this gap. Now, whenever you're inside a bearish higher time frame gap, the general idea is that you want to be trading short, because out of this gap, you find a fair value point of interest for market to be selling short relative to where there is no fair value, quote unquote. Now, because price inverts this level, we start to refer to this as failed and consider it support into the upside. We had generated sell-side liquidity in form of equal lows on the hourly here. The market swept those out. We've invalidated this down close candle, up close candle. So at this point, my mind immediately shifts to the upside. Failure to respect this, let alone revisit it, is not a great sign to see. And then we put in this 4-hour fair value gap. Now, this is something I want people to understand. If you're looking at a bullish continuation, you don't want to see the market trade deep, right? Meaning, when we trade into and above this new day opening gap, which I could clone this quickly, but it's kind of cluttered, so I'll do that. So right there, that's that new day opening gap from prior day's close to new day's open. When we trade up and into it, we want within and / or find support within it. Meaning, anyone who is looking at this gap needs to understand that this by default should become a breakaway gap, right? It's in the lower half of the current dealing range from this low to this high, or these highs. This is our drawn liquidity, and price is looking to expand higher into this draw. Therefore, it would be a weak signature to trade deep into here, let alone into the lower half of this 4-hour bullish fair value gap, which you can see here. I've noted the upper quadrant, which is the 0.75 level. We came down, touched it, right? And then the immediate reject speaks for how strong this is. Then you could probably do something like that. Note this candle's wick. We tap 0.5 perfectly. And from there on out, we found expansion into the upside, right? So with that being said, we're now looking at Friday. Now, for me, nothing's changed. I'm not going to be shorting today. I'm probably not even going to be trading. There's a real lack of volume here right now. We've got the 10 a.m. news driver, consumer sentiment. And so what I could see manifesting is that we might start the open quite slow into 10 a.m. And I could see the afternoon session being a bit more aggressive, in the sense that with the market being on close for the week, we could see price spooling aggressively into the drawn liquidity, which is these smooth highs. Going into the 15-minute, the structure is not really firm of anything. This wick right here, if we go look at ES on the 4-hour, is an immediate rebalance. That is a strong signature that we want to be seeing, meaning that when this candle trades up, comes lower, and then closes, the next candle expands up due to the lack of space, or the, how would you say? The presence of space, really, from this candle's high to where we close here. If this candle were to trade higher, we would be leaving a bullish fair value gap. That's bad. Why is it bad? Because if we leave a gap here, sort of like in here, it would mean that the market would want to come back down to fill and then trade back out to the outside. Let me make sure my voice is working so I'm not yapping for no reason. Awesome. There we go. And so when ES opened at 2 p.m. and immediately closed in the difference between this candle's high and what was going to be this candle's low, that just means that the market is in a rush. It's closing off this gap, leaving this range right here balanced, and we can now trade higher effectively. So adding that into the ideas, I gotta apologize, it's freezing in my room. We're looking at upside, obviously. If we don't hit this draw today, I'm gonna be trading Monday, unless Monday's a bank holiday, I'm not sure, with the expectation that Monday makes the run up into this high. That's the narrative that I'm framing currently, that I see somewhat logical. Now right here, I believe right now we've got an SMT there. Let's see if that is the case. We do, but it's not really a firm SMT, right? The market's not rejecting off of it, sort of just trading higher. The Nasdaq being a bit weaker here short term, and then we've got some sell side below there, and on the hourly we may have a nice wick to the downside. So as for today, I'm not sure under which narrative I would be framing this, but what I'd want to see going forward, I'm carrying this idea into next week, is a potential sweep, trade higher, and then just make their way into these equal highs. From where we are right now to there, it's 250 handles. Usually that shouldn't be a problem, but we've got quite the exhausted weekly range. And so I'd be more conservative in how we're approaching this. The volume really dried up here, right? We've had a massive week so far. And so it's not really that consistent here. And I would be approaching this day a bit more cautiously, but I'm primarily looking at the upside. We'll be seeing if anything presents. If it doesn't look nice early on in the sessions, then I'm going to be calling it a day, going into my weekend and enjoying myself. And I think that pretty much wraps that up. I will go back to here. And obviously we'd want to see this close above for a continuation so that we have a measure of an opposing candle. Let's do this. I'm going to copy this and send it into the chat. And then I'm going to see what people have for questions. Mr. Kamal requested to speak. What do you say, guys? Do we let Kamal join the call? Yes? Okay, cool. Mr. Kamal, you may join. Let's see what I'm missing. Oh, that's a clean short, bro. That's so cooked. Just wait till next week. You'll maybe get break even. It's definitely. Dollar's gonna melt, take out London lows and index run up before going down. Yeah, dollar looks pretty good on the downside, right? Let's see. 8:30 manipulated the lows. What is the chance 9:30 also manipulates? Pretty high. We have no news at 8:30 today. Means very little to me. Hmm. Okay, sound. 4-hour rejection block, now reject. As I said, once 9:30, 10 opens, 50% regular trading hours gap, then we move. What's the percentage chance of filling? I mean, we're not really gonna have a gap today, are we? We left no regular trading hours gap this day. It was tiny. And then we're not really leaving much of one here. But we might see, yeah. Go back into this. Seen this on H1 with standard deviation. Yeah, I've projected the same leg. I've actually got another leg more accurate, but I'm not gonna share it because I'm a gatekeeper. What are you talking about for value gaps all of a sudden? I mentioned that I would be looking like because people are more focused on this style of trading. I mentioned I'd also speak of it in this terms, but I won't trade like this. So I'm not going to be trading off of these concepts. But I'll be annotating them for you guys and teaching them because I still understand this stuff. So that people who trade this sort of manner can also see what I would think about in those senses. If this fair value gap gets traded into, then we're not going to see the. That's way too deep. You want us to trade down there? I don't like that. But we'll see. If we take out this low, I wouldn't want to see us take out this low even. I'd want to see this stay open and we just trade higher. Because as I've just mentioned, ES rebalanced that for the sake of expanding without needing to manipulate. Considering our price expanded this week, can we consider TGIF today? No. Because we didn't have one-sided expansion for the 3 days in a row, which is sort of what would permit the retracement back into range, and we didn't really hit any key objective yet. So my bets are on higher prices or chop. Even if it does trade lower, I'm not interested at all to trade this to the downside. Let me see if I can pull up my TGIF tool. So we're looking at this high to that low. We trade all the way down here, then that's just something's really wrong, right? That's just not gonna happen in my eyes. Wouldn't want to see that happen, and it's unlikely to see that happen. You know which leg it is? Bet. Gatekeeper? Gatekeeper. Gatekeeper. It's crazy. Why you don't want to start YouTube channel? Because I'm not a YouTuber. I enjoy doing this. Is this what you're gatekeeping? Yes, it is. Since there's no clear weekly profile, would you consider a daily profile? Yeah, like on a day like this, you're gonna have to just work with a daily profile logic. But right now we're void of one. There's no profile here that I could think of. There's no 8:30 news. Otherwise, I'd be looking at a consolidation rate on news release. Yesterday we had that on the upside, then traded lower, then expanded higher, which the not again. Oh my God. Okay, I didn't really say much though. Feed the cat. Well, he ate, but he wants to get into my room, so he out of the room through the window, and I refuse. He keeps trying to do that. No. Right when answering my question, that must be a sign not to trade today. Maybe, man. Okay, guys, I don't get the pings when you this. The fuck? Let's see. Okay, there is still sound. If you guys spam like this, then it's like even more complicated. All right, let me in. All right, cool. Four and call it a day. Call it a day. Yes, it's 20 to 30%. Market makers are stealing this out. God, bro, I swear to God they are. I swear they are. Ask Afiz. He must have one profile for today too. You can ask him. I won't stop you. What the hell? All right, cool. I don't see much else here. Good luck today, guys, and I'll see you all tomorrow for the UNA, I believe. Yes. Alrighty, we'll call it up there. Have a good one, and bye bye.